Mr. Area Governor, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guest. What makes a leader a leader? The answer is actually just one word. Because according to John C. Maxwell, the word is influence. Influence is that which makes a leader a leader. And you're going to ask me, who is John C. Maxwell? Well, John Maxwell, he's written 40-odd books. He's written this book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. This book has sold over 1 million copies. His 40 books have sold over 13 million copies worldwide. He's also a founder of INJOYS and EQUIP, organizations that are there to promote leadership on a worldwide basis. He advises international leaders on leadership. He advises leaders of the Fortune 500 companies. So he is a leader. And he tells us very early on in his book that he who thinks he leads but has no followers is only taking a walk. So what about leaders? Let's take a look at what leaders are. Leaders are elected, they're appointed, they're hired, they're acclaimed. These are leaders that have earned the title on a merit basis. Somebody has found in them, has seen in them an ability to lead, an ability that says, I'll take you to a promised land. Then there are crowned leaders. They're entitlement-based. An accident of birth. And that's all it is. Some of them may have leadership skills and some of them may not. But that does not make them good or bad leaders. It all depends on their skills. Then we have the self-starter. And to me, I show that as the potential leader. Because the self-starter leads us to identifying the 3 levels of leadership. And the first level of leadership is self-leadership. And what is self-leadership? Well, as a self-leader, I'm going to set up goals. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to be. I've got to identify what are the steps that I need to cross in order to be able to achieve that goal. And I've got to put these steps in motion, because if I don't get anywhere. This is self-leadership. And that's the first person we have to lead if we're going to be a leader. Because before you lead anybody, you've got to lead yourself. Then, leading up. And you're going to say, well, this person is not a leader. He's leading up. He's following somebody. But this is where this person has the ability to use, or the opportunity to use, that word that we talked about, called influence. He can influence the vision. He or she can influence the direction, can influence the time frame in which the goal is going to be reached. And then, of course, we've got the third level is leading down. And leading down, now we are the leader. We are responsible. We have a duty. We are carrying that world on our shoulders. And we've got to be able to identify clearly a vision of where we want to go. And what is a vision? Is being dissatisfied with the status quo and identifying something better towards which other people want to be able to go and to be able to reach. And this is what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to, in Toastmasters, to be able to take people to a promised land. And what is the promised land from a Toastmasters point of view? Well, you've all seen this. It's the mission of a Toastmaster club. The mission of a Toastmaster Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment. An environment in which we nurture each other, help each other along, support each other, in which every single individual member has the opportunity to develop his or her oral communication skills, his or her leadership skills, which is going to create self-confidence. And what happens? We grow. We grow inside as individuals. And what happens when we grow? We get to feel better in our own skin. And what happens when that happens is that we lead a better life. Not only in Toastmasters, not only in our jobs, not only at home, also in the community, and maybe even at the golf course. So, this is where Toastmasters helps us an awful lot, because these are what I refer to as the dynamic factors of leadership. Some of you may be familiar with this program, the High Performance Leadership Manual. This is a program, it's an excellent one, in which you learn to conduct your own project. And you learn to really lead. And in here, they show us these dynamic factors of leadership. And let's take a look at them. Vision and values. Well, I've talked about vision. Vision is being dissatisfied with the present and identifying something better. But it goes along with values. And what are those values? Something that as a leader we must wear. We must wear integrity and honesty and loyalty. We've got to show that we are committed, that we're a team player, that we work together in order to achieve the goals, the individual goals of the members in the club and the club goals. That we're dependable, that we're determined, and that we are responsible. And then, to persuade. But to persuade, we need to always have a hook. When you hear songs, they have a hook. We in Toastmasters, we've got to have a hook. There has to be a benefit for each and every single member. They've got to be able to see it. They've got to know it. They've got to feel it. And this is our responsibility as leaders. We've got to be able to lead them, to get them to feel what is the benefit for them by being here and present in this Toastmaster Club. We've got to be able to direct. Remember those activities that we need to do in order to be able to reach that goal? Yes. We've got to have the ability to direct those activities and make them happen. And to be able to support the people so they don't feel alone when they're doing their jobs, when they're trying to achieve their respective goals. And then we've got to develop people. We've got to get them to grow their individual skills. We've got to teach them what it is. And then today is a good day to talk about it. We've got to be appreciative. We've got to be grateful. We've got to know how to say thank you. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your support. And then it's not enough. We've got to empower. As leaders, we can't do the whole job ourselves. We have people. A president has a VP of education, has a VP of public relations, has a VP of membership. In order to get these particular jobs done, we have to work through them. We have to empower these people and let them do their jobs so that at the end they say, we have done it, but we have done it ourselves. But that's not all. Those were the dynamic factors. But there's skill set associated with that. And the skill set is from our Competent Leader Manual. And this skill set, there's 10 of them in here. And when we complete them, we achieve our competent leader level. So let's take a look at these skill sets. But they are closely tied to the dynamic factors of the previous slide. When we take a look at that, a leader has got to be able to listen, allow the environment to permeate within him or her, and be able to think critically, to funnel it through his or her mind in order to be able to define or clearly define a vision of something that is better than the present. Then the person's got to be able to direct. And in directing that, got to be able to plan and implement, has got to be able to organize and delegate, get the right person to do the right job. And he's got to, as Darrell would say, be able to manage time. Then we've got to be able to support and develop. And in supporting and developing, what do? We give feedback. We mentor. We motivate and we inspire. We are building a team. We in Male Talk, we are a team. And then we facilitate. We make it easy for people, or make it easier, not easy, but make it easier for people to achieve their respective goals. Now I'm going to switch over to Mr. John Maxwell. He's got 21 laws. If I was to go over the 21 laws, we'd be here forever. So I selected 2 laws, the law of buy-in and the law of influence. And the first law, the law of buy-in, says people buy into the leader. Buy into the leader. Then they buy into the vision. What does that mean? Let's understand it within that framework. If you don't buy into the leader, and you don't buy into the vision, get another leader. You have no idea what the promised land looks like. If you don't buy into the leader, but you buy into the vision, that leader is not going to get you to a promised land. If you buy into the leader, but don't buy into the vision, this is your opportunity to influence the leader, to influence the vision, to steer it again, to add to it, to make it better, to make it more achievable, more suited to the goals of the environment. If you buy into the leader and you buy into the vision, well, that's panacea. And off you go and get behind that leader and work it. But it's interesting what we say. What is it that causes us, why would people buy into us? And that's one word too, that's credibility. And credibility is a function of a number of things. It's a function of relationships. We need to be able to build strong relationships. We need to build strong relationships with each other. We need to be able to build relationships with other people outside the club, maybe within Toastmasters or outside of Toastmasters, in order to help us to achieve the goals that we want to be able to achieve. We've got to be perceived as being honest and authentic. If you feel that you have a leader that is not honest, that you feel that is lying to you, you don't want him as your leader. You got to set high standards, extremely high standards for yourself, and set a good example. Be a role model, and people will say, oh yeah, this is the way. Be the best that you can be. You've got to be perceived to have the tools necessary for the people that will follow you to be able to achieve their goals. Our educational goals. Here in our Male Talk Toastmasters, we have every single educational tool available from Toastmasters. Every single one of them. And we've got to help people with their personal goals. It doesn't stop with Toastmasters. We become friends around here in this room. And as far as the personal relationship is allowed to go, we can help people. We can help each other, not only in a Toastmaster environment, but in the broader sense. And then we've got to be able to develop leaders, because we've got to build a continuum. Toastmasters started in 1924. Ralph C. Smedley started it then. And we have to have an ongoing flow of leaders to take over to ensure that we reach, that each one of us that join Toastmasters can reach our personal promised land. And now if we take a look at the law of influence, the true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. And the person who's going to show this to us is none other than Claude. Well, you don't know about Claude. But before I talk to you about Claude, I'm going to talk to you about Maxwell, John Maxwell. John Maxwell is a graduate of a top American university. And before that, he worked with his dad in the ministry. And he had a lot of experience in the ministry. And then he graduated, and he had a tremendous resume, and they hired him to run an organization. And then he walks into a first board meeting with this organization. And within 1 to 2 minutes, he knew he wasn't the leader. Claude was. Claude was a farmer. Claude was a farmer. But every time that Claude spoke, people listened. Every time that Claude suggested something, they respected what he was saying. And every time that Claude led, they followed. So John realized at that point in time that he had to implement the law of influence. He says, I've got to influence Claude. And then Claude will influence the board. And that is how he built that extremely strong relationship with Claude. And that's a relationship that lasted for a long, long time. And they did wonderful things together. So this is how the law of influence can work. And you'll see other examples of that. Factors that influence leadership. Character, who we are. Of course, I'm going to refer you back to those that describe the character of a person, which I talked about a few minutes ago, integrity and so on. It's who we are, and people can see it. The relationship, it's who we know. You saw the relationship that Claude was able to build with John, or vice versa. And the strength of that relationship got them somewhere. But for us, we build relationships in such a way as to be able to achieve our respective goals. Knowledge, it's what we know. You see, Claude had tremendous knowledge. True, John had a degree in all these. But Claude had been there for a long time, had been there forever. He knew the environment. He was familiar with it. And Claude, there was no question about his ability. He had done it. There was no question about what he was doing. So they were influenced by that. And then his intuition, well, you would bank on what Claude would say because he'd gone through similar things in the past. So he was in a good position to influence the board. And his experience, where we've been, well, John was going to build his experience over years, but that would take time. Claude already had it. And then, past success. He was a successful farmer, a successful businessman, well established in the community. They knew he was a known entity. So, my friend, how does this pertain and relate to Male Talk Toastmasters? For us, we have to own our respective roles. We have to own them. As members, we have the opportunity to influence. When we lead by doing and leading by achieving, we are being role models for everybody in the club. But we have to be here. We have to be here in this room. If we're not going to achieve our goals. If we're not going to be able to support the other members in the club. So let us lead ourselves. Let's be here. We will achieve our goals and we will support each other. As execs, we've got to be able to influence. We've got to lead others. We've got to be enthusiastic, infectiously enthusiastic. Members have got to feel. It's got to be palpable. Feel our support. The VP of Education has got to be able to plan the meetings. They've got to be fun and exciting. The people here must feel that we've got to be able to have the educational material and be in a position to educate each other, to inspire each other, and then to have a mentor, and then to be able to monitor the progress of each member. This is the purview of the VP of Education. The VP of Membership has got to be able to grow this club. We've got to break that 20 barrier. We've got to go through that and hit 22, 23, 24. And the VP of Public Relations has got to promote the club via perhaps a better website, maybe ads in the newspaper or on the radio, in order to be able to promote our club, Because for us, when we grow as leaders, others will buy onto us because they're going to know that we have the character, the relationships, the ability, and the knowledge to lead them to the promised land. Mr. Toastmaster.